That's Nick.
And that's Joseph. And today we're here to talk about Till, the third film directed by Chinonye Chukwu, which is about to premiere at the New York Film Festival on October 1st, before it is released theatrically on October 14th, 2022, courtesy of United Artists Releasing.
Do you know the director's other two films?
Her debut was Alaska Land in 2012, and I believe we were both a big fan of her 2019 film Clemency, starring Alfred Woodard.
Oh, I really liked that movie.
I did as well. I think it was on both of our top 10 lists for that year.
Alfie should have won an award for that.
The fact that she did not get an Oscar nod for that film is embarrassing, I think. And of course, Clemency won the top prize out of the Sundance Film Festival. And I'm assuming that Danielle Deadwyler as Mamie Till Mobley will most likely be getting an Oscar nomination for her role in this.
So this movie tells the story of Emmett Till through the eyes of his mother. For people who don't know, Emmett Till was a 14-year-old young man who traveled down to Mississippi from Chicago to visit family. Mm-hmm. And while he was down there, he whistled at a white woman and was kidnapped and murdered, specifically by two white men. Mm-hmm. There's a trial. Those men are not found guilty. And then what happened to him, unfortunately, is not something that was uncommon. However, his mother, what is her name?
Mamie Till Mobley.
Mamie Till Mobley. She elected to have an open casket because that young man was beaten to the point where he was unrecognizable, which is important to his story because she does have to identify his body, which there's some, you can get into it, but there's some dispute. The city is trying to dispute that that's even his body, but she knows that it is. But she elects to have an open casket because she wants the image of her murdered son like burned onto the consciousness of the American people, which many people consider sort of the start of the civil rights movement.
Right.
You enjoyed this movie. I mean, enjoy is not a good word.
It's
a well-done movie.
It's a well-done movie. I wasn't looking forward to seeing it. I haven't been looking forward to talking about it, which is why, I've seen it, several days ago now because it's just.
Well, I elected not to watch this movie because I'm very familiar with Emmett Till's murder, and it's just very hard to revisit. I do think telling these stories is very important, and people need to know, but I just couldn't watch it.
I agree. I don't think that it is, something that you could dismiss as trauma porn. I think it's doing the same thing that this woman really wanted originally for the world to see her son, is that, and this is what cinema does. It provides, granted this is through the lens of filmmaker decades later, but a document. Again, this one is a reenactment. But the screenwriter, Keith Beauchamp, one of the screenwriters, directed the 2005 documentary The Untold Story of Emmett Till. So it's clear that this is well researched, even though this is through the eyes of the mother, who is played by Danielle Deadwyler, who I think gives a rather, it's an exceptional performance, and in particular the sequence where she is on the stand in Mississippi and she's being interrogated by the defense attorneys for the two men standing trial. Mm-hmm. And of course, her mother is played by Whoopi Goldberg, and her father is played by Frankie Faison, and they show up for a couple moments. It's always nice to see Whoopi. Something that I didn't know about Emmett Till, and I was trying to struggle to remember when I came to be aware of Emmett Till, because when I was in school as a kid, I don't remember being taught that about him. Just like I don't remember being taught about Medgar Evers. I learned about Medgar Evers through a 1996 film called Ghosts of Mississippi, starring Whoopi Goldberg as Myrlie Evers. So it's interesting to see, because Medgar appears to, he's on hand to help Mamie as part of the NAACP, who are trying to kind of make her the poster child at this certain moment in time as this trial is going on.
Does this film talk about his assassination?
Just at the very end, because of course he was assassinated in 1963, which that 1996 film, directed by Rob Reiner, is dealing with the second trial that assassin, I think it was in 1994, he was put on trial again because originally he was found not guilty and then was found guilty and died in prison. I'm forgetting his name. He was played by James Woods, who was an Oscar nominated for that movie. Anyhow, so that's interesting to note. I think the production value is quite good. I really think that Bobby Bukowski shot the film, who has shot a couple of films for Oren Moverman, and there's a sense of Chukwu trying to make this kind of a brightly lit endeavor, because it, especially in the production design and how the women are dressed and the period detail, like it's a very like if you didn't know it, this would look like a smooth melodrama, really. Like you wouldn't know that we're dealing with such strenuous things. I think Deadwyler, there's a couple times that she looks like she was giving me kind of Gloria Graham a couple times. She's styled very beautifully. She's very eloquent and articulate. It's interesting to note, of course, she had relocated to Chicago as Mamie Till Mobley from Mississippi and tried to build a new life for herself and a life for her son, who she wanted, she stressed, to have a childhood. That's why he was kind of, even though she gave him warnings about going down to Mississippi, he was kind of ignorant about the ways down there and about how terribly black people were treated. I also thought it was interesting. It shows the train, because the film opens when they're getting ready for him to go on this trip, and she has all these reservations. And on the train down there, as they pass into Mississippi, all the black people have to get up and move to the back of the train. The film, sadly speaks to a lot of things still going on today, where like if you're a woman that has to go to a state where she doesn't have reproductive rights, or to a country where she has to cover herself up, and or if you're queer and go to a country where you don't have equal rights, like it's just interesting how terribly flawed we are. And this film is not an enjoyable experience, but the overall message, I think, is supposed to be evident and resonant beyond the frame, as in the words of Mamie Till Mobley at the end of the film, saying that, I'm not all right until we're all right. And I'm paraphrasing for a better written speech than I'm saying that she gives in the end of the film. But yeah. What
would you give this movie?
I think 3.5 out of 5. It's I think a lot of people that watch our channel are going to say, well, this is something I probably feel like I don't need to see. And I agree. I think if you, like yourself, feel like this isn't something I need to put myself through, because I already am quite familiar with this story, and I can see that. Flip side of the coin is, to support this black filmmaker and this story, and it's Emmett Till's story is worthy of not being forgotten, obviously. I assume that this will be up for a lot of awards, but we'll see. It's rated PG-13. I think that Chukwu does a nice job of not making this an exploitative film, and not overly gruesome. But when you do see the body of Emmett Till, that's supposed to create a reaction in you, and it does.
Well done.
Sure.
Hit the thanks button. Listen to our podcast. Bye.